Okay, so I overslept a little bit. I'm still in my Jedi robe because, it's cold outside this morning. I wanted to smoke a cigarette a minute ago, and I was like, nope, Jedi robe. Big fluffy robe. Not playing around with that. It's nice. My wife made it for me. It's nice. That micro fleece. So, not as prepared this morning as I usually like to be. I just didn't see anything in the news that really interested me until right before the show started, and didn't have time to do the thumbnail and whatnot. So, I do have an article that I want to talk about this morning, but give me just a second. I'm going to connect this thing. And come on, BTA2, where are you? I got to disconnect that and plug it back in real quick. What I'm doing, I'm going to hook up the little Bluetooth module. So I'm not going to put up the call-in number, but I've got my personal phone hooked up for those of you who know that number. Give it a minute. It's not connected yet, but y'all can call in this morning and we'll try to get you on air. So we're kind of in a holding pattern, right? Nationally, we're looking at a lot of different stories that are developing, and there's not any new information on them, like the Trump indictments, all that stuff. We know that those are going to get processed through the courts, and there's going to be some stuff going on there. But we haven't actually gotten the news as relates to those yet. So nothing really to talk about there yet. The migrant crisis is still a big deal, but again, we're waiting on some stuff from the courts, and there's a lot of hurry up and wait going on in this country now, right? It feels very much like sitting in that feeling you've got right now, where everything could suddenly go wrong all at one time, and you're just waiting on something, and coincidentally something from the government to, a decision to be made, a ruling to be issued, something that starts the action that you're all waiting on. That's very much the feeling of sitting in the smoke pit, having a cigarette with your battle buddies in an active war zone. You're just like, everything's about to happen. You don't know when, but any minute now, IDF is going to come over the wall, and holy shit, we're in a fight. The New York City trucker boycott is threatening to heat up, and I'd like to see that happen. It would do my heart a lot of good to see New York. I want to see the state of New York suffer, because stupid should hurt, right? And we're seeing it a little bit with stuff like this. Now, this article is from The Atlantic, right? Not exactly a bastion of right-wing high intellect here. Something's fishy about the migrant crisis. The federal government's dysfunction leaves immigrant-friendly cities feeling overwhelmed. If you're in an immigrant-friendly city, the language is wrong. The state of New York is not an immigrant-friendly state. I want you guys to remember, for those of us who raised a hand and swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, we never swore an oath to uphold and defend the United States of America. No, we don't swear an oath to defend the country or its people, and certainly not its government. We swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution and nothing else. That's it. The Constitution. That Constitution imparts upon our government which is elected, right? It is not by law supposed to be nepotistic, despotic, or lineage traditionalist government. This is not a heraldic dispensation of hereditary authority. It is elected, in theory. It's supposed to be. You know, assuming we still have elections. We uphold and defend the Constitution. And that Constitution imposes upon those elected officials, most especially the chief executive officer, the commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces, the President of the United States. It imposes upon him a duty to secure the border and defend the country, right? In quiet contrast to that oath that those of us who raised our hand and served under arms, we swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. That same Constitution requires the president, who has also sworn an oath to uphold that Constitution, that Constitution requires him to maintain our national security and our national sovereignty, to secure the border, and to prevent hostile foreign invasion. Right? That's all under Article 4, Section... off the top of my head, I want to say it's Article 4, Section 10, but I'm not sure. I may be getting Section 10 mixed up with the 10th Amendment in this case, but Article 4 contains the clause that says the president is required to secure the border. In Article 1, Section 3, it is explicitly said that if invasion is the problem, then the state has the authority to do what the president should have done, which is to secure the border. Texas is, in the case where Texas is putting up the razor wire and doing whatever it's doing to attempt to prevent criminal aliens, hostile foreign invaders, from crossing our border and conducting an act of war against our sovereign nation. Texas is right. The law is on the side of Texas, and that is as clear as it could be, legally speaking, right? Based on the authorities as they're described and prescribed in the Constitution. But we have an administration that is going counter to that. So you look at New York City, which is one of these immigrant-friendly cities, and the case against Trump that has just occurred. He's just been fined, 350 or 340 or $350 million. He's been fined in a case where there was no trial, right? You're going to see the lefties tweeting out all over the place. Oh, Trump was found guilty of fraud, and Trump was found guilty. He was found guilty of rape. And no, he wasn't. There was no trial. In the E. Jean Carroll case, the jury, okay, and that case was a little different than the fraud case. In the E. Jean Carroll case, there was a jury, and the jury found that there is no evidence that Donald Trump raped E. Jean Carroll. What Donald Trump lost on there is when he tweeted, or I think he put it out on Truth Social, but he made a post on a social media platform that said, I did not rape that woman. I never even met her. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that's it. He basically protested his innocence. I didn't do the thing she said I did. I don't even know this woman. That's what he got busted on. Is when he said, I didn't do the thing she said said I did. She came back, and on the basis of that tweet, of that comment, she sued him for defamation. And the court found that he maliciously defamed her, which is insane. I did not do the crime. Suddenly saying that you didn't do the crime, whether you're telling the truth or not, just saying you didn't do it, right? Let's assume for a moment that he's lying. Let's assume for the sake of argument that he did rape her. And when he said, I didn't rape her, he was in fact lying. For his lie, given that preposterous presupposition, for his lie to somehow be a crime, that is an abuse of constitutional process right there. All by itself. Now, according to the jury, there's nothing to suggest that he did rape her. They could not find evidence that he committed a crime. I got somebody in here trying to sell me chat moderation, views, something. You don't get to talk here. Banhammer. Where's Steve when you need him? Banhammer. So now we see the case that has come against him for the fraud case. Now in the fraud case, Judge Engeron, the nipple judge, here's what happened. Letitia James ran her campaign on elect me to be the DA and I will go after Donald Trump. And then they made up this fraud case where they said Trump lied about the value of his properties. And let's be clear, in that case, they said that Mar-a-Lago, that Trump is lying about the value of Mar-a-Lago. And they said that Mar-a-Lago is only worth $17 million. Let's see now. Let me see if I can find it. Mar-a-Lago. So I can find this on Zillow. This will really put it in perspective. What the hell's the address for Mar-a-Lago? Screw it, I know geography, I can just go to it. Okay, okay, it's down in here somewhere. Get that out of the way so I can see what I'm looking at. It's down in... There's Boot Key. Come on, sucker. Avenue A, Fat Deer Key. There's Marathon Shores. Damn it, where is it? How do you spell it? Okay, that's not it, but it's close to that. Anyway, if I could find the son of a bitch on Zillow, the point is it's a huge, an absolutely gigantic piece of property. It covers the key from one side to the other. And they're saying that it's only worth 17 million, while the properties adjacent to it are all listing at like 30, 40, 50 million. They just lied about it. Okay, so Xander says that's because his attorneys didn't present any evidence of value, so the judge used the taxable value, which has an abatement that Trump entered and agreed to. His lawyers messed that up. I'll give, that's fair. That's fair. His lawyers probably could have argued that better. But the point is, they trumped the charges up based on that claim and a similar claim related to some of his properties in New York. And the claim is that he defrauded his creditors. So he'd borrow money from a bank to build another building. And the judge is saying that he defrauded those banks. The people from the banks, the loan officers, the bank managers, the CEOs, etc., the banks themselves came into court and said, whoa, we lent him money. He paid it back. We made a fucking king's ransom, and we're super happy with this. There was no fraud. And Engoron said, I don't care. Directed judgment, summary judgment. I don't care that there wasn't a crime. I have decided that he has done a crime. And what's the first rule that they teach, that they're supposed to teach lawyers in law school? Crime is harm. You don't have a crime if you can't show damages. And I would argue that in this case, because the alleged victims in question actually explicitly, with documentation, showed profit, it's not just the case that Engoron can't show harm to prove crime. That is the opposite of crime. Alex points out that Kevin O'Leary just said that New York is now uninvestable, and that's a thing that's happening. Yes. Kevin O'Leary was talking about building data centers, and one of the things they were looking at was putting an electric plant on Niagara Falls, because that's an obvious huge source of energy if properly harnessed, and has now said, nope, there's no way I put anything in New York. Fuck them. Because here's the real takeaway. And this isn't just New York, right? New York, Michigan, California, anywhere basically, if the state went for Biden, yeah, that means Georgia too, until Fanny's out on the fucking street with a sign. That means Georgia too. Hey, Governor Kemp, by the way, that means Georgia too. You would be insane to go and spend your money on starting a business in one of those states. Now, if I'm being fair, Georgia, maybe to a slightly lesser extent. But Fannie Willis she's there. She's a prosecutor. And I mean, in trying to argue that she's competent and unbiased enough to prosecute Trump's case, she got up on the stage. She got up on the stand and admitted to several crimes that she had not even been charged or investigated for. Right? She got up there and, oh yeah, well, it looks like corruption because I was given gifts from an unapproved source in a political office and I was fucking him. But no, it's cool because I paid him back with cash that I stole from my election campaign. And and I also paid him the same that I paid everybody else who works under me. After my whole diatribe about how you should elect me over Howard the Coward, because she said this, I will never sleep with anybody under me. I will never have sex with anybody working under me. And I will not steal money from taxpayers. Holy shit! I shit you not. That was part of her campaign. I promise that I will not do the things that Howard the Coward has done. And then she got elected and went on to do all of the things that Howard the Coward has done. And now, if you have a business and the wrong think, and you are in New York or California or right now even Atlanta, then a corrupt government will come after you. Here's what you need to understand about that. When we swear that oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, we swear to uphold and defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I cannot think of a more clearly threatening domestic enemy than a rogue state using its armed, militarized government agents to cause explicit harm in clear contravention of the law and the Constitution for political purposes. Perhaps the only thing that I could imagine that would pose a greater threat than these obviously rogue agents and rogue states who are in clear violation of the law and conducting war against the citizens of the United States. Perhaps the only thing I can think of that would be worse than that, as far as the category of domestic enemy, is for those same individuals to be less publicly visible. You know, something like, for example, a shadow campaign to fortify an election and guarantee a certain outcome. A shadowy cabal, if you will, Time magazine, to forestall the will of the people, to guarantee that the right outcome occurs instead of that one for which the people voted. So, these rogue states, I say to the truckers out there, okay, you want to start with New York, that's great. And do California next. Do California next. Maybe Pennsylvania. Right? Say, hey, you can have food again when you remove the corrupt politicians that did the bad deeds. Right? Hey, New York, you can eat rats until Engeron is a pauper. Because what you are right now is you are one bully in a room full of smaller children who are just about to realize that they've all got baseball bats. Buddy, I'd watch that clip all day. So I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it there. We're heading down to the farm today. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.